media department. But we're really excited to deliver this webinar this morning on how to get the most out of your social media strategy in 2023. You know, so much has changed over the past 5 and 10 years in terms of social, and guess what? It's changed so much more in the last 12 months, which means that that pace, that acceleration of where we're moving in terms of how brands and users engage with social media is changing dramatically over the forthcoming year. So it couldn't be a better time to do this session, and we're really excited to have you here with us. Before I sort of introduce myself, the team, and Ellie, a couple of bits of housekeeping. We are going to be recording this session, so you will get a copy of the recording afterwards. You will also get sent the deck in a follow-up email, so you will have access to the slides. So, you know, don't hesitate to sit back, enjoy the session, safe in the knowledge that you're going to get both the deck and also a recording of it afterwards. So we are also recording this session. As we have quite a lot of people in the room and we have an hour, I do encourage you to remain muted during the lion's share of the session. It just avoids the kind of, you know, the doorbells and the dogs and that sort of thing. As much as we love them, it's just to give Ellie that space and time to deliver the webinar. However, I would encourage you throughout the session, please don't hesitate to pop questions in the chat. I'm going to be looking after the chat during this webinar. Don't hesitate to message me personally, kind of privately as well. So if you do have any questions, but you want to remain anonymous or you don't want your business to be mentioned, I completely understand that too. So don't hesitate to reach out either publicly in the chat or to message me personally. There will also be time for some questions at the end, so we'll open up. And because we have quite a lot of people, we might struggle to get through all those questions. However, Ellie and I are both happy to stay on for a little bit after 10:30. So if this does go just beyond that 10:30 mark, those that want to stay on, you know, the time is there. Let's make sure that we can use it and answer any of your questions. Otherwise, we will make sure that we follow up on LinkedIn or by email afterwards. So let's go. How to get the most out of your social strategy in 2023. So my name's Dan Jenkins. I am head of client services here at WAGADA Digital. As I say, I'm zooming you currently from our Cheltenham offices, where I'm based, and my team look after a wide range of clients across both the UK but also internationally. We work with a vast array of brands across a number of industries, and we're excited to be successfully delivering online visibility, engagement, growth, and ultimately revenue for ambitious brands across the UK and abroad as well. And it's not just about me. You know, I'm part of an exciting and dynamic team across 2 locations. We have celebrated over a decade of digital marketing services from our offices in both St Albans and now Cheltenham in Gloucestershire as well. So we are very much a brand with a national presence. Whilst we once upon a time started with our roots in search engine optimization, we have evolved and grown into what is a strategy-led and customer-focused, ultimately, 360-degree marketing agency. We have specialists covering Google Ads, search engine optimization, social media advertising, organic social media, digital PR, and even web development services. So we really do offer the full 360-degree marketing mix, and it fundamentally comes from a client-first perspective, where it's the needs of the client and their marketing goals that we can ultimately now meet with our team of experts across the UK. So without further ado, that's it from me. Welcome everybody. Really lovely to see you on this webinar. I look forward to engaging with you a little bit further in the chat. But what I'm now going to do is hand over to Ellie Wilbraham, WAGADA Digital's very own social media expert. Over to you, Ellie.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Dan. So yes, as Dan said, I head up our social media team here at WAGADA. I work with clients from such a range of industries. You know, we've got clients who are alloy wheel repair specialists, loft conversion specialists, lawyers. So I work with our clients and with our team to help them achieve success on social media. And that's exactly why we're here today. So I'm just going to run through a quick agenda of what we're going to be doing in this session. So I'm going to start by going through our trend predictions for the year ahead. So, you know, as Dan said, it's a constantly changing space. So I just want to put you in a really good place when it comes to building your social media strategy so that you're aware of all the things that can feed into it and really get you success online. Then we're going to start building our strategy. So this is going to start with setting our goals, and this is ensuring that our social media goals are aligning with our business goals. We're then going to do a bit of an audit into what our competitors are doing and how we are currently performing on our platforms, before doing a deeper dive into our audience, what they look like on social media, what they want to hear, and forming our content pillars. And we're also going to be considering a range of tactics and platforms throughout. So yeah, really excited to be here today with you all. So you're all here because you know that social media needs to be part of your strategy this year, but I just wanted to give you a few more stats to back that up. So there's 4.9 billion social media users globally, and there's 58 million social media users in the UK alone. And on average, these users are spending 2.5 hours on social platforms daily. So there is great opportunity to succeed on social media when done right. So we're going to show you exactly how to do this. All right, so I'm going to start with those trends I mentioned. So perfection is out. We've seen a huge change in how social media is used over the past few years. A few years ago, it was very much a place where brands and influencers were only showcasing this perfect side of themselves, and they were only posting really curated content. And this has changed vastly, especially in the last year. So there's been the rise of platforms like Be Real. So for those of you who don't know, Be Real is a social media platform that gives you a 2-minute interval at any point in the day where you have to post a picture. So this encourages people to, be authentic, be in the moment, and essentially be real. 79% of young people say that they're tired of portrayals of perfections in ads. So there's just been a real shift from what people want to see on social media. And they want to see, the people behind the brand. Do take this with a pinch of salt though. So when we say perfection is out, we don't mean to start posting really low resolution videos, for example. What we mean is just think about the kind of content that you're putting out there. So Chipotle, for example, are a great example of being imperfect online. So you can see, this guy in the middle, he's, if you remember, the corn guy who went viral for being obsessed with corn. So Chipotle, they're a food brand. They could post very beautiful, perfect imagery of their food, which is great, and they do that as well. But how we get to know them as the humans behind their brand is them sharing, connecting with things that are trending, things that we want to see, showing their humorous side. This image here on the right is Chipotle on Be Real, and they really got praised for this because you can clearly see this isn't a photo shoot that costs them hundreds of pounds. It didn't take them hundreds of hours. It really was in the moment, authentic, and that's exactly what that platform is designed to do. So they've done a great job of humanizing their brand and being kind of imperfect on social media. Next trend prediction is audio. So we've seen audio increase in popularity so much after the past few years, specifically after the pandemic. So 2021 saw 19.1 million UK-based podcast listeners. So if a podcast is something you can do, they're only increasing in popularity. And keep your ears peeled because we are definitely cooking up something here at WAGADA. If a podcast isn't something you can do, there's audio aspects to the platforms that you're using every day. So LinkedIn has audio-only events. Twitter has Twitter Spaces, where essentially you can record a verbal webinar and people can tune in. So definitely, if you can, think about getting some audio-only aspects into your social media content. Employer branding, this one's going to be absolutely huge if you are looking to recruit in the year 2023. All right, we're in the middle of a recruitment crisis, and employees they're empowered. They can be picky. They can choose the workplaces that they want to work for. So you need to work on your employer brand. We're running a webinar on Thursday the 9th next week on how you can integrate employer branding into all aspects of your marketing. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you are looking to recruit this year. But just in terms of social media, what does that look like on your social media? It's showcasing more than just a post that's saying we're hiring. It's showcasing your culture and your values so that people can really get a feel for what it's like to work at your workplace. So I just wanted to show you T-Mobile, as an example, you can see here in the left, they've done an employee spotlight looking at this person's career journey, showing future employees that they too could have this amazing journey at this company. The post in the middle is just showing that they have fun day to day. It's not a mundane role. And actually this post on the right was posted from the employees' account themselves. And, you know, what a better trust signal to say that your place is a great place to work than if your employees are actively shouting about it on their own social media. So definitely, if you're looking to recruit this year, get employer branding into your strategy. All right, AI. I will be incredibly surprised if there's anyone here who hasn't heard of ChatGPT. You know, it seems to be all anyone's talking about at the moment. In case anyone doesn't know, ChatGPT is the most sophisticated AI tool we've been able to use to date. So you can do things like, you know, say I've got 5 ingredients in my fridge. I can say, make me a dinner plan for tonight with these ingredients. I could tell the AI that I've created an artwork about butterflies, and it could come up with names based around what the prompts I put in. So in terms of how we can use this for social media, we can definitely help. It can definitely help us with idea generation. You know, sometimes thinking of content can be hard. So we can put in a few prompts and start to get some ideas from the AI. There are a few limitations though that you need to be aware of. So even if you go on ChatGPT now, you'll see it says that it's actually limited on up-to-date events as of 2020 or 2021. So, you know, social media, you need to be accurate, you need to be up to date, and you can't be spreading misinformation. So if you're going to be using AI, really, really do be careful about the information you're using. And, you know, it's so important to add your human touch still. An AI can't replicate a human, you know, it can't be you, and it doesn't know your brand's tone of voice. So if you are using AI to form your copy for your social posts, just make sure you're getting that human touch back into it. One thing that I think is going to continue to develop this year in terms of AI is image generation. So this is really exciting. So here I've got an example of Canva. So in Canva, they have this text to image section, and you basically plug in a few prompts and it will generate images for you. It's still early days, I'd say. It could do with a bit of work, but at the moment, you know, us social media people, we're limited to taking pictures and content ourselves, or we use sites like Unsplash because they have no issues with copyright. But you know, as these things develop, these can be super helpful for us on social media. Okay, so the next trend is that the environment will be higher on the agenda. This has definitely been a growing trend over the past few years. And, you know, the environment, climate change, these are huge concerns for millennials and Gen Z. And it's more than just saying, you know, we're a sustainable brand, or using a buzzword like green. You know, consumers, they want to see what you are doing about these issues that they care about. It's no longer good enough just to tell them about it. You have to be doing it. So Patagonia are an amazing example of this on social media. They're absolutely smashing their ESG. You can see here, they haven't just said, we want to help against deforestation. This post on the left is an actual case study about what they did to help protect this forest against deforestation. This second post on the right is a post about how they're encouraging secondhand clothing and sharing and upcycling and recycling clothes. So they are using their social media for activism and to make a change. And that's why they're successful on social media, because people's values align with them and they can really get a feel for what they are about through their social media platforms. And final trend that I'm going to talk about is building brand advocates. This is going to be a trend throughout this whole presentation. This is a really important one for this year. So this is connecting with your customers online, engaging with them, building a relationship with them, speaking to them one-to-one. You know, one-way broadcasting, just doesn't work anymore. You can't just put a post out on social media and hope that people are going to engage with you. You have to be doing the engaging, speaking, connecting with people. So brands that invest in their relationships with their customers will be the ones who win the most advocates and ultimately be successful on social media. So that was a lot. There's a lot of trends to keep up with there. So I just wanted to highlight that we've got a free tool for you, which is a guide to social media manager, the skills that you can use. So definitely check that out. I think Dan might have popped a link in the comments as well for you. So definitely go and download that free tool. All right then. So I just wanted to talk to you about how there is opportunity for social media at every stage of the funnel. So from the top, awareness, this is the first time someone hears about your brand because they see a post on social media. Consideration, someone's thinking about converting with you, but they want to get more of an idea of your service offering or your values. Action and conversion, there's loads of sales driving call to actions you can be using. But this engagement and advocacy piece down here is really, really what I wanted to highlight the most. So as I said before, connecting one-on-one with your customers, turning one-time customers into brand advocates. And these people are going to be people who are so loyal to your brand, they're shouting about your brand without you even having to ask them to. So social used in this way can actually influence offline decisions. So let's say I'm at M&S and I'm looking at 2 smoothies. One of them's an M&S smoothie, and I think you all know what I'm about to say, but one of them is the innocent smoothie. I've been engaging with them online. I've seen that they're ethical. That really resonates with me. I've seen that their values align with mine. I like what they do on social media. I know them on social media. They've turned me into an advocate for their brand. So guess what? I'm choosing the innocent smoothie. So just focusing on this can really, really influence offline decisions as well as online decisions. I wanted to highlight as well this engagement piece here. So if someone engages with your post, so likes or comments, it then will be boosted onto their feed. So anyone who follows that person will then see the content that they've engaged with. And in this sense, it could be the first time that someone's heard about you. So using the funnel like this, the bottom of the funnel can influence the top of the funnel and can be really successful on social media. Okay, so step 1 to setting up our strategy. We're going to be looking at our business goals and setting social media goals. And it's important to understand, how our social activity feeds into our business goals and other areas of our marketing activity. So as a business, your goal is likely going to be growth. But what does that look like on social media? For example, do you want more monthly blog readers because you know that people who read your blog are some of your most loyal, active customers? Well, then that's going to translate into traffic on social media. So the metrics that you're interested in are going to be social traffic referrals and profile visits. Have you launched a new product that no one knows about yet? Well, then awareness is going to be a huge focus for you, which means you're going to be interested in tracking metrics like reach and impressions. So there really is a metric for everything you want to achieve on social media, and setting these goals, putting these in place is how you're going to stay aligned with your business goals and ultimately how you're going to achieve success on social media. So having this alignment with your business goals from the start is how you're going to succeed. An example of this, Ryanair. I'm sure many of you have seen Ryanair on TikTok, for example, or at least heard about how well they are doing on social media. On TikTok, they've got a very fun, silly persona, and you might think because they're a big airline that they've got loads and loads of resource. But that's actually not the case. It comes down to the fact that they have a really, really clever social media strategy in place. So Ryanair identified that as a business, they needed to improve their sentiment, okay? Historically, Ryanair has been a very low budget airline. It's not been favorable above others, and it's not something that people would choose if they had the choice. So they have identified that as a business, we need to improve our sentiment. And they identified that this could be done on social media. One of the reasons that they are so successful on social media is because they know exactly how to speak to their customers and where to speak to their customers. And they've worked this out by setting up a really strong social media strategy. So it's important to note as well, you know, how they interact with their customers on TikTok is very, very different to how they interact with customers on Twitter, because they know what their audience want from the different platforms and what content really resonates with them. And, you know, Ryanair, they've been so successful at achieving this goal. You might have seen in that video, there's hundreds and hundreds of comments of people from the US saying, when are you coming over here? We want you in America. So their sentiment has improved vastly, thanks to through social media and thanks to having this social media strategy in place. So it's just really, really proves the importance of aligning your business goals with your social media goals. Okay, so the next step to our social media strategy is the audit. So here we're going to look at our competitors, and this isn't to copy people. This is to kind of identify gaps. You know, Ryanair, for example, they were such early adopters of TikTok, especially for an airline company. And that's part of the reason that they're so successful. They identified a gap, they put it in their strategy, and they've absolutely smashed it. So obviously, when it comes to competitor research, you can go onto their social media platforms, you can get a general feel for what's out there, what they're posting, how many likes their posts are getting. But, you know, we want to be a bit more thorough than this. So I'm just going to show you some sneaky little tricks we have. So this is LinkedIn. If you navigate to your business page and go to the analytics drop down and then select competitors, you can actually plug in 9 competitors that you can track for a number of organic metrics. So this gives you a great benchmark for where you are in the industry and specifically against your competitors. You know, you should have this set up and you should be dipping in and out frequently. You know, have you gone down in the ranking? Why is that? What do I need to do more of? Is this competitor who was number 9 now number 1? Well, what are they doing? So it's, yeah, a great benchmark for you in the industry. Another tip we've got for you is, this is to do with Facebook and Instagram ads. So if you go to your competitor's Facebook page, I've just chosen Nike, for example, and you scroll down on the left until you reach page transparency. In page transparency, you can see all of the ads your competitors are running. So I can see the graphics they're using, the copy they're using, the call to actions they're using. And this can give me really great insight into what is working with our audience. You know, Nike, they're a well-established brand. If they're using 3 emojis in all of their copy, guess what? I'm going to test that because I know that that resonates with our shared audience. Okay, so the next step of your audit is going to be looking at your current performance. So this is everything from, you know, what type of content is getting you the response you want. Is it photos? Is it videos? What content types are doing really well on your platforms? Is it team events? Is it top tips? Just want you to be wary of one thing when you're looking at this, especially for newer accounts, is that a lot of your engagement at the moment might be from your employees. So this isn't a bad thing. We want our employees to engage. As I said, it can help with awareness, boost it onto their profiles, and more people will see. However, just for the purposes of evaluating your current performance, just keep in mind that if it is your employees who are engaging, those aren't your target audiences, okay? So your engagement might seem quite high, but you're not actually reaching the right people just yet. So yeah, as we're evaluating our current performance, we want to look at platforms compared to each other. Is Twitter outperforming your Instagram? Why is that? Is that the messaging? So how do we really get a gauge of how we are doing on the platforms? So we want to look at our engagement rate. So our engagement rate is a metric that tracks how actively involved with your content your audience are. There's a number of ways to you can calculate your engagement rate. A really popular way is total engagements. So this is your comments, your likes, your shares, your clicks, your saves. So total engagements divided by followers. This is a popular way. It's good for a general gauge. However, we like to be a bit more precise. So what we do is we take our total engagements and divide it by reach. This is just far more accurate because reach is looking at everyone that the post I just posted actually reached. So everyone saw this post, and from that, how many people engaged. So if you take the engagements divided by followers, not all of your followers see all of the content that you put out there. So great for a general gauge, not as accurate as this metric. In terms of engagement rates, there's an average engagement rate on platforms. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter are all under 1, but LinkedIn's about 3, TikTok's about 6 to 7. So there's different benchmarks in terms of platforms of where you want to be, but engagement rates also do differ in different industries. So fashion, for example, fashion typically has a quite high engagement rate. So it's definitely worth just having a quick Google and seeing what your industry specific engagement rates are, just so you can have a better benchmark for where you are and what you're aiming for. Okay. So how do we work out our engagement rate? How do we find the analytics? So what you can do is you can go into the platform's built-in analytics. So this is a client's Instagram, actually, for example. Here I can put in a date range and see how many accounts were reached, how many accounts were engaged over that date range, and calculate my engagement rate. The analytics look different on different platforms and you get different things, hence why I just wanted to show you 2 examples. So this is LinkedIn on the right. LinkedIn actually calculate your engagement rate for you, so you can just export that and add those all up over your given time period. You can also use third-party tools should you want. So we use HubSpot for some insights, which is great. Okay then, so you know what works currently, but now we want to get a better understanding of our audience. Okay, so as a business owner, as a marketing manager, as a communications manager, you likely have a very good understanding of your target demographic. You might even have a brand strategy in place. If you don't, do not worry, because this is a different exercise. Okay, this is getting a real deep understanding of who your audience are on social media, what they engage with, what they want to see, where they spend their time. So it's going more into, it's more than just the demographics, it's going into the psychographics. So why is this so important? Well, on the surface, King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne, they look quite similar. They're both male, they're both born in the same year, they're both raised in the UK. Would you target them in the same way? Absolutely not. This is why it's so important to get a deeper understanding of people's behaviors and attitudes. So in terms of how we go about this, we're going to start by listing our audience's aspirations and pain points. And this is where you have to be really honest and don't just list pain points that directly relate to how you can help. We want to get an actual understanding of these people. So let's take a gym owner, for example. A pain point for many of their audience, I mean, this is definitely applicable for me, is that I work a 9 to 5. I'm very tired after work. I don't have the motivation to go to the gym. So if that gym is able to speak to me about that pain point of me, then it resonates so much more with me. It's also here important to think about what social networks these people are active on. Yes, your ideal customer might be in the B2B space, they might be on LinkedIn for their work, but are they on Facebook and Instagram in their spare time, connecting with their friends? They very well could be. So it's important to think about where your audience are throughout the day. At the end of the day, we are speaking to humans, so reach them where they are naturally. And this is a great opportunity as well to use your social media platforms for social listening. So this is just an example of what we at WAGADA have set up in HubSpot. So we are tracking hashtags that are relevant to our business, to our industry. So at a glance, we can now see what people are talking about, what our consumers are engaged with most, what's doing really well, what people don't really care about. So that's just giving us a better understanding of our audience and their habits on social media. This is from Hootsuite. You don't have to use a third-party tool for this. You can just go into your platforms and start plugging in hashtags and keywords that are relevant to your industry. You know, Twitter's got the Explore tab. Go in there and have a look and see what people are engaging with in your industry. Also important to note here, you know, it's worth gathering a bank of hashtags at this point and keywords. So when it comes to content generation, you know what hashtags and keywords are getting the most engagement online, and therefore what can go into your content. Okay, so we have started to look at what the audience want to see, but now we want to form our content pillars. So our content pillars are not our product or service, and they are not things like educational or entertaining. So educational and entertaining, these are content types. So of course I want to educate my, my target audience. Of course I want to entertain my target audience, but they are not your content pillars, okay? Content pillars are the middle ground between what your audience want to see and what you can expertly talk about. And having these content pillars in place, we recommend about 3. Just makes content generation so much easier as you really understand how to speak to your audience and what to speak to them about. And you know, 60 to 80% of your content, it shouldn't be about your product or service, which can seem really, you know, not natural, especially if you're new to social media. So having these in place will really help guide your content generation. So let's go back to that gym, for example. A content pillar of theirs, it wouldn't be their weight section, it wouldn't be their cardio machines, it wouldn't be their sauna spa area, because these are their service offerings, okay? A content pillar for them might be health. Health is something that concerns all of their target audience, but it's incredibly broad. So under health, you know, there's so much you can talk about. Going back to that 9-to-5 office worker, you know, personally, it's hard not to snack all day. There's so many sweets and treats around the office. So talk about a top tip for people struggling to be healthy at work, add some value to them in that way, show them what I eat in a day as a personal trainer, give them some inspiration. Mental health as well, that can all come under this pillar of health. So of course your service offering and stuff will be feeding into what you're talking about, but it's just so much broader and there's so much you can talk about. Okay. So we know who we're targeting and we know what we're speaking to them about, but where. So the average user, the average social media user uses 7.1 platforms per month, which sounds absolutely crazy, but I counted and I'm really embarrassed to admit it's definitely true for me anyway. So there's loads of platforms out there and you can't do it all. Not only because you don't have time, but because the way you speak to your audience will differ so vastly between platforms. You know, take Pinterest, for example, it's a very aspirational platform. And I wouldn't be posting the same stuff on Twitter, which is more of a news sharing, short snippet kind of platform. So it's just so much more important to choose the right platforms from the beginning. And do a few really, really well and really speak to your audience about things that really resonate with them on these platforms. So
just very quickly, sorry, I've had a question come through privately and I just thought it's rather than leave it till the end, it might be worth just chipping in with it here if that's okay.
Yeah.
Somebody's come through and asked, do you have any ideas or recommendations in terms of tools for the content generation? So do you have any recommendations for tools that could be beneficial for pillar content generation, that sort of thing? For inspiration, I think.
Yeah. To be honest, you can read things online, but I think it's more valuable to do it yourself. You know, you're the one that really understands what your audience wants. So what I do is I'll brainstorm on the left, you know, everything about my audiences, their pain points, their aspirations, and then on the right brainstorm every way that our service can help. And you can start picking out kind of crossovers and themes and words, and that's what I'd say is the best way to generate those content pillars.
Perfect, thanks, Ellie. If that answers your question, drop me a line. If not, but yeah, all I'd add to that probably is things like there are some things like Google Trends that can be good to identify, I guess, what the marketplace is doing. But yeah, as Ellie said, it comes from within really. So yeah, fab. Thanks, Ellie.
Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to choosing the best platform for you, we want to go back to those goals that we set at the beginning. So looking at what you want to achieve. So is your goal on social media to increase awareness? Well, then you want to be doing things that drive awareness. So TikTok, for example, the app is literally designed so that small creators, business owners, brands can blow up. Okay, people are discovering new people all the time. So TikTok is, if your goal is awareness, TikTok is a great place to place your social media activity. So let's take Duolingo, for example. They identified that they needed to increase their awareness, and they've done this through posting witty content and jumping on trends. You can see this here is a recent trend. You know, Duolingo are on it. If there is a trend, they'll be there, but they're tailoring that trend to their audience, okay? And they've absolutely smashed it. So their engagement rate is 19%. And I said earlier, TikTok's between 6 and 7%. So they're doing really, really well on TikTok. Is your social media goal engaging with your community? Well, then why not get your key stakeholders on LinkedIn? You know, all of our key, like as modeled here by Dan, all of our key stakeholders at WAGADA are on LinkedIn. They're building connections, they're building a community, they're positioning themselves as thought leaders. And this is a really powerful part of our strategy. You know, leads developed through employees' social activities convert 7 times more frequently than other leads. So really, really important to get those key stakeholders on LinkedIn, get them engaging with people, get them building that community. Just a quick tip while I'm here actually for LinkedIn, selfies are performing really well at the moment. So if you can jump on that, definitely give that a go. All right, so when we're choosing what platforms are best for you, I want you to consider platforms outside of the big 5, you know, outside of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. You know, if your audience are teenagers, you want to be on Snapchat. That's where teenagers are spending their time. YouTube, I feel like YouTube is often neglected. Maybe it's because it can feel daunting because it's much longer form content. But actually, you know, there's YouTube Shorts now. So YouTube Shorts are similar to Instagram Reels and TikToks. You know, they're vertical videos, they're short, you can add a sound. Why not give that a go if your audience are there? And as well, this gives us an opportunity to consider kind of how we're using the platforms. So this is from a client we worked with on a launch project. So this client, they built the world's first ever replica of a famous bouldering rock in South Africa. So very, very cool project. And we worked with them on a launch event. And so the idea is that this replica can travel around gyms to give climbers, boulderers, the opportunity to climb this boulder that they never would have had the opportunity to otherwise. So during this campaign, we engaged with a YouTube influencer. I believe she is actually the #1 female bouldering influencer on YouTube. So that's really cool. So she came to the launch, she filmed her content, she edited her content, and she posted it. And you can see it's by far one of her most viewed videos. There's floods and floods of comments of people wanting to know more, expressing excitement. So what a great way to build a community through using YouTube and influencers. So just consider the different tactics that you can use in your social media strategy. And when considering where best to place your social media activity, I also want you to consider paid social media. So I feel like they're often thought of as two very different things, and they are different things and they need to be handled differently. However, they can work together to bring people all the way down the funnel and reach people at all points of the funnel. So let's take a new brand, for example. You know, when you first start out on organic social media, it can be really tricky and it can be a bit slow. So as a new brand, I could run a paid campaign that reaches an incredibly large audience, and even better, it reaches my exact target audience. So paid social media, there's very sophisticated targeting options that you can put in to ensure that you are reaching your target audience. Then once these people have heard of me for the first time and they've come over to my organics platforms, this is where I'm engaging with them. This is where I'm building that community, and this is where I'm turning them into loyal brand advocates. So there really is a place for both organic and paid in your social media strategy. You can use one to inform the other. So there you can set up lookalike audiences. So there's a number of different lookalike audiences you can set up, but I'm going to take the example of a lookalike audience that looks like people who already follow your Facebook page. So let's say you've actually cultivated a really strong following on Facebook, but you want to reach more people. If I run an ad targeting people that look like people who already follow my Facebook page, I know I'm reaching people who are interested in my content because they're really similar to the people that are interested in my content. And I know that my messaging is going to resonate with them. So this is a really great way that you can use one to inform the other. Also really important to look at your user's journey in Google Analytics. You know, it might be that someone, they see an ad and then they go onto your organic social media to get to connect with you a bit more. So just having that understanding of your user's journey. So there really is a lot you can do with both paid and organic in your social media strategy. So what I've done is I've just linked this blog here. It can be quite daunting, paid social media, if you haven't done it before. So definitely give that a read. It's got some great tips and loads of different ways that you can use both to integrate them into your strategy. And just on this as well, you know, used in this way, social can inform other areas of your marketing and business, right? So let's say you're driving from social media, you're driving hundreds and hundreds of people to a landing page that has a downloadable guide, but your guide is not being downloaded. Well, this gives you the opportunity to kind of look inwards and think what's going wrong. You know, you've driven all that traffic there, but why aren't people converting? So it could be that your call to action isn't strong enough, or maybe the copy is too long and not engaging enough. So definitely think about those journeys and how that feeds into your marketing. All right, then, that's it. We have our social media strategy. We're just going to leave that now. We can forget about it. Absolutely not. Okay, this is, you know, this is such an important part of your social media strategy, which is reviewing your results, tracking your progress, making sure you're aligned with your goals. Are people reacting to your content how you want them to? Are you hitting your target for reach? If I didn't hit my target for reach this month, what can I do next month? Well, I'm going to do more Instagram reels because I know that they can get a really strong reach. So you want to be constantly adapting alongside your goals to make sure you are hitting these goals. As well, social media as a space, it's constantly evolving. You know, trends that people are talking about, what people want to hear about, the algorithms, for example. So you need to keep up with this. You know, there's new updates to platforms all the time. So this can be really tricky to keep up with, right? Obviously, I work in social media, so it's my job, but you guys have a million other things going on. So what I would recommend is you can definitely sign up to newsletters. There's loads of different newsletters you can sign up to, but what I find more valuable and actually a bit easier is following industry experts on the social media platforms that you are using daily in your spare time. So people like Neil Patel, Matt Navarra, if there's an algorithm update or a new feature on an app, these people are posting about it, which means because I've integrated them into my everyday social media activities, I'm constantly able to learn and therefore adapt and change my strategy alongside these changes. All right, so our key takeaways from this session. Number one, we are going to align our business goals with our social media goals. We are not just posting content into the abyss and hoping that it reaches the right people. We are posting with strategy and we are doing it with purpose. We're going to post content that speaks to our audience. You know, we've really got to understand our audience on a deep level, what they want from social media. And we've developed content pillars to ensure that we are talking about things that will resonate with our audience. Really, really important. We're going to be constantly reviewing and adapting, you know, check in your analytics weekly, if not monthly. and be able to adapt your strategy based on how you are doing. And then finally, if there is one trend you take away from today's session, please let it be building your community. This is going to be so important for social media for the year ahead, turning those one-time customers into brand advocates, having that relationship with your customers and building a loyal brand following. All right then, so there you have it, how to build a social media strategy that will make you succeed in 2023. Thank you all for listening. I really hope you found this valuable, and I cannot wait to see your businesses on social media absolutely smashing it. All right, I'm going to pass back to you now, Dan.
Brilliant. Ellie, thank you so much. There have been some amazing messages coming through privately as well, just to say how much people have found the session to be valuable. So really beneficial. It's a lot to cram into, you know, to an hour with questions as well. So thank you for that. Just very quickly, folks, we're going to have some questions in a moment. There've quite a few that have come through privately and one or two publicly as well. So we're going to go through some of those. I'll be posing those to Ellie. And then there'll also be an opportunity to unmute and sort of jump in. Just before I do, a couple of quick announcements, if I may. Ellie, if we could just take a look at the next slide. So just to let you know, we've got another event coming up very shortly on the 9th of February. This one's going to be really beneficial. The details will be in the follow-up. It's all about how to tackle the recruitment crisis with employer branding. I'm going to be back on that one, but with my colleague Sophie, who's a strategist here at WAGADA that specializes in a variety of strategy, but has a lot of experience in terms of employer branding and works with some really exciting brands on recruitment marketing. So do come along to that one. These sessions are also, obviously, they're totally free. And if you do have a moment after this and you would like to leave us a Google review, please don't hesitate to do that. We'll pop the link in the follow-up. Also, we'll put some details of our charity partner that we're about to announce for the year as well, because, you know, if you do feel so inclined, a small gesture there could go a long way after this session. We don't ask for anything out of these sessions. We enjoy and take pleasure in kind of educating and working with our clients and the wider business community. So yeah, don't hesitate to do that. But come along, get yourself a free ticket, and hopefully we'll see you on the 9th of Feb online. The next thing I just wanted to touch upon is that we are also launching a social media starter pack. So if you found some elements here that you want to take forward, but you're looking for support from our experts on that, don't hesitate to reach out, find out a little bit more about how you could get started on social media with us here at WAGADA Digital. And I think there might be one more. Yeah, and that's it. And so now it's just to take a look at questions. So I've had a couple come through that I just want to pose first, if I may. So the first one, Ellie, was from one of the charities in the room that reached out privately just to say, first of all, you know, is there value in utilizing LinkedIn? To which I sort of jumped on and answered that by saying absolutely. Yeah. And then the next question was, you know, what to do on LinkedIn, or recommendations on how to increase fundraising specifically around, through a corporate audience and corporates on LinkedIn. Do you have any thoughts on that, on how charities can maximize social media and in particular LinkedIn to harness increased fundraising from corporates?
Yeah, so definitely I'd say coming back to that piece about getting key stakeholders to start engaging on LinkedIn and building communities that way, I think that could be really effective, because then it's just much more of a personal touch, and those relationships have really been built. And potentially utilizing LinkedIn groups could work. So that's, you know, you'd be able to speak directly to people who are kind of talking about the things that really affect them. So definitely check those out.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, Ellie. There's also a question surrounding, just before we move on to the next business, just another one in terms of measuring donations. So how would you, or is there a way to recommend working backwards in terms of once a business has had perhaps a successful donation or a piece of engagement, to work backwards to identify if that's come from LinkedIn, or sort of where that's come from?
Yeah, so in Google Analytics, you can really track that customer's journey, and you can see basically if you set up tracking on your donation button, you'll be able to work backwards and see that journey. So it could be that customer's gone, you know, they saw you on LinkedIn, then they Googled you, then they engaged with you a bit more on LinkedIn, and then they've clicked through and made that donation. So you can see that where that's come from through social media or other marketing aspects.
Thank you very much. So here's a question. Who would you that came through? I can't remember if this one was on the main feed or privately. Who to follow? Who to look out for in terms of social media influencers, or perhaps some individuals to follow to kind of keep ahead of the curve really, and stay on trend with that sort of thing. Who do you follow?
Yeah, so the main ones I follow would be Matt Navarra. He's amazing on LinkedIn and Twitter. Constantly got updates. He's great. Also Adam, I'm going to get this wrong. It's Mozzari or something. He's the CEO of Instagram, basically. So if there's an Instagram update, he's definitely someone that we want to be keeping up with. And Neil Patel's another one as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ellie. There's another question that came through that's sort of connected, but slightly different. Sorry, there's lots of messages coming through, so I'm just staying on top of them. There was a question surrounding following, but also like industry experts and other thought leaders. And here we go, Jenny Peaker. Is there an easy way to find influencers or experts in your field, example, finance? So based on what you were saying there, what's the go-to in terms of looking specifically within industry, not just kind of social media influencers, if you see what I mean?
Yeah. So for a start, you could Google it. There's probably going to be articles out there saying, these are the hot people in this industry, and then you can go and find them and connect with them. Another way you can go about this would be to go into the platforms that you want to connect with them on. So let's say LinkedIn. And if I start putting in those keywords and those hashtags, people who are speaking about these topics will come up. So you can get a feel for who in the industry is posting stuff that you want to see, and who people similar to you who they're following and they're engaging with. And that's how you can a really effective way to find people in your industry that you want to follow and engage with.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ellie. They're still coming through thick and fast, so I want to make sure that we go through all of these. And as I mentioned at the start, we will also stay on slightly longer at the end as well for those that want to stay and have a couple more questions answered. Quick and easy, Twitter insights. Somebody's asked, is there a way of having them for more than 7 days, more than a week? Do you know anything about that? Or if it's to do with data retention, or how to get access to larger volumes of insight?
Yeah, no, Twitter analytics is quite limited. I think you can go up to 28 days. It's not like you can set a custom period like you can in other platforms. Worth potentially looking at, if you have tools like Hootsuite, for example, you can get analytics, but it's just quite limited, and there's not much we can do about it because it's just the way the platform is.
Something I should make, thanks for that, Ellie. Something I just want to add to that as well is that data retention is changing massively, and as an agency, we've been talking a lot recently about how to engage with data, what data you're able to get access to. As you may or may not be aware, GA4 is a big switch that's happening mid-year this year. So if you're not already in a place where you're sort of set up for that change, you really need to be thinking about that now. And something that's going to be changing there is how much historic data you can get access to. So much more than the 7 days that was mentioned earlier, you're looking at kind of 12 to 15 months of data retention. But the difference, I guess, is that historically through Google Analytics, we're used to several years of data retention, and that landscape is going to change quite dramatically. So it's important to to keep that front of mind. But don't hesitate to drop me a message on LinkedIn if you'd like to find out more. One question that's come through directly, which is actually a really important one. Hi, Daniel. Any tips for increasing engagement on Facebook? We post lots of very relevant content, but we struggle to gain many comments or engagement. Now, I think that's actually a really important question, because obviously we talked a lot, Ellie, about how the social media landscape has changed dramatically over the last few years. But let's look at that specifically, and in terms of perhaps Facebook and the Facebook algorithm. What are your thoughts in terms of maximizing Facebook engagement?
Yeah, so as you're saying, Dan, organic engagement on Facebook, it is very, very low, and it is very, very tricky. A way we've found success in increasing our organic engagement on Facebook is through using Facebook groups. And what we'll do on those groups is, instead of creating a new post, we'll copy the link to our post that we've put onto our feed and add a bit more insight into it and post it on that group. And we've gone from engagements of very low to in the thousands from using this tactic. So it's also important in those groups that you engage with people. Don't just constantly share your stuff, because that's really disingenuous and it's not what people want to see on Facebook. It's not why they're there for general advice from these groups. But yeah, utilizing Facebook groups will be a huge one if to succeed, to make your post perform better on Facebook.
Thanks, Ellie. I guess also that's where the balance comes with paid and organic, right?
Yeah.
I think we've seen where when there's budget to really drive up that following and that engagement is that the paid compliments. By the way, I'm just going to say a big thank you to Cindy, who joined us in from California with a 1:30 a.m. local time. So thank you, Ellie and Dan, for sharing a lot of good info. I'd like to say longer, but my head is not cooperating. I don't blame you. Call it a day. You've done great. Thanks for joining us. Cheers, Cindy. Thank you. You will get the recording afterwards as well. Yeah, sorry, a couple of questions that are very similar have come through here from Rafaela and also from Tamsin. How often should you be posting on Twitter and LinkedIn? And the other one was, how many posts should you be posting per day, per week, per platform? So Ellie, thoughts in terms of the key platforms, the top platforms, and kind of post frequency?
Yeah, really differs between platforms. I'd say, as a general aim, I'd aim for 3 posts on your platforms per week. However, the Twitter recommends 5 times a day, which is just, not always feasible. LinkedIn, actually you can post too much. So if you post a post within 18 hours of your previous post, they can actually work against each other and steal engagement from each other. So definitely consider that. But yeah, as a general benchmark, I'd aim for 3 a week on your platforms. Just keeps it nice and consistent, and people will know that you're showing up for them, basically.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ellie. I think it's a real challenge, isn't it, with platforms like Twitter in terms of getting that balance of frequency right. And I think that's why so many brands use it as more of a customer engagement and communication piece rather than a content drive, perhaps like Instagram. A couple more are coming through. This one has come through privately. Different social medias have different audiences. Would you say it's best to have a different strategy per social media platform? So, for example, Instagram, TikTok focus towards a younger audience compared to Facebook and LinkedIn with an older audience, or would you say you should balance your posts across platforms? A great question. So what are your thoughts on that, Ellie, in terms of how to better tailor your social media platforms to the different segments of the market?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. So that's where understanding those audiences will really help you. So, let's say you've identified that some of your audience are on LinkedIn and some of them are on TikTok and Instagram. This is where, under your content pillars, you can get an idea that works for both of them, but then you can just tweak the messaging so it really, really resonates specifically with the audiences. So it's kind of, what it comes back to, and they are different. So you can be sharing the same ideas, but it's just how you kind of execute those.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Ellie. The questions in the chat have just started to draw to a close. I just wanted to give anybody the opportunity to unmute or pop any further questions before we wrap up on the session. Did anybody have anything they wanted to ask whilst myself and Ellie are in the room? No? Perfect. Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining. I really hope you found the session beneficial. As I say, there have been some fantastic messages that are coming through on the chat, both publicly and privately. So we really do appreciate it. As I mentioned, don't hesitate to give us a little review on Google if you feel so inclined. We would really appreciate that. And we'll pop details and links in the follow-up. You'll also receive the recording with the full details of our next session, which is on the 9th of February, surrounding employer branding, as well as further information on what it could be like to work with WAGADA on social media as well. So thank you again for joining. Have a great rest of the day. And on behalf of both Ellie and myself, we'd like to wish you the best of luck with your social media journey in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.